Right, we're back. This is the third week of Lent, and the pancakes have been going well. I am kind of getting better at the pancakes. I'm kind of committing to a lower heat, and I've started sifting the baking powder because I was getting lumps of it, so I don't think it was working as effectively as it should have been. And yeah, so I'm going to try now to make crackers, because it occurred to me that actually the pancakes are really good for the day. So in the morning I will make the pancakes and I've got them for the day, that's all good. But then they wouldn't be good, for instance, for an entire week. And in a week's time I am going to Colombia for an entire week. And it would be nice if I didn't have to take 2 bags of dubious powder to Colombia and probably return with half a bag of dubious powder. So, yeah, so I'm thinking crackers would be a good way around it. You know, go full, you know, old school Navy, and effectively make some hardtack. So what I've done is I've gone on to, I think it's the BBC Good Food website, if those two are mutually compatible things, and found a recipe for rosemary crackers. Now this recipe calls for 150 grams of flour and 80 millilitres of water. Now obviously I need 125-ish grams of flour, but it also calls for 2 tablespoons of oil. So I think actually the recipe is probably going to even itself out. And the important thing with using this particular recipe, apart from, you know, removing all the rosemary and sugar and stuff, but the important thing with using this recipe is it's on a British website, which means it's got actual measurements on it, not like cups and stuff. So, I mean, I don't mind tablespoons too much because that's still volume of liquid, and that's fine. You can do volume of liquid, but once you start getting cups of flour and that, just no, stop it. USAians, if you are watching, please learn to bake properly and stop trying to measure things in cups. It's not going to work. But anyway, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and, as before, make the 3 portions of the day worth of these crackers and see what happens. So hopefully, if I get the consistency right the first time, the second batch I can do all as one. That'll be much easier. If not, then I'll be workshopping it and seeing what happens. So let's give this a go. We'll get out my trusty overly heavy bowl. Being a oh, that's not dry. Obviously I'm going to get it wet, but it's nice to get the dry ingredients sorted out first. Now, as ever, the recipe would be on my phone, but my phone is what's doing the recording at the moment, so I can't look at the recipe. It's occurred to me as I've been speaking to you that I don't remember what it said about baking powder. Once again, you know, baking is a science. You do have to use the right amounts. However, I'm an idiot, so I'm just going to eyeball this once again. You know, it's probably fine. See what happens. Now, of course, the ideal would have been to make something like sort of saltines or something like that, but apparently, to do that kind of thing, to make basically your tasty biscuits, you need to use yeast. And I've got 2 ways about whether I'm allowed to use yeast, because yeast will add a flavour. Once again, I'm not sure if it's actually a flavour that would affect it in any useful way. Not like with baking powder, where it's like, no, that's not a real flavour. Yeast definitely is a flavour that somebody will notice. Now, I don't drink beer because I don't particularly like drinking beer. So I've got a feeling that was the indication that I wouldn't like yeast anyway. But we're not here to make a decision about whether it's tasty or not. If there is a flavour on it beyond the basic Huel flavour, then we're going to say it's not allowed. So if I can get away with doing this without yeast, that's fine. I'm thinking next week I'm probably going to try and make bread and see what happens. I need to work out a no yeast bread that actually works. I'm thinking maybe a soda bread. I know I have an Irish friend who tells me that she is very good at making soda bread. So potentially that's a good plan. And that is now, yeah, let's call that 125. That's close enough. Right, now, where has my sifty dealy gone? Okay, now, I mentioned before that my mum has now passed away. Our housekeeper has now gone back to, well, she's begun her journey back to Colombia via Spain and France. I got a text from her this morning saying that she was setting off today from Valencia to Barcelona. She's already been to Madrid, she's already been around the south coast. By all accounts, it sounds like a lovely time. But what that means is that now we've got between 2 and 3 men in the house, depending what's going on, which means it's anarchy in this kitchen. You may be able to see, oh, there we go. Obviously, something hasn't been put in the right place because nobody knows where the right place is, and therefore the right place is on the side where people can see it. Now, I am a big proponent of just leaving stuff out where people can see it, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. As ever, the real problem is that I hadn't looked for these things before. I should have had all this set up already so as to make this a less boring video. I'll shake this out a little bit here. Hope that's enough. That is definitely too much. I did clean my hands before I did this. Screw it, see what happens. Worst comes to the worst, we get bubbly crackers, and of course I will make sure that doesn't happen by pricking holes in the crackers before I put them into bake. So yeah, because this is, as I say, quite old baking powder, a lot of it has clumped together. I'm thinking that clumping together is what prevented it from just wasting away and being useless. But it does mean that I need to use a sieve and just push it through the sieve. There we go. That is now a clean sieve. So I'm just going to work this together a little bit. Shum, 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 shum. There we go. Now, last time I was wondering, do I want to be using my hands for this or not? But this time round, we are making crackers. That means that we are not going to have a batter, we are going to have a dough. And that means, being that I don't have a stand mixer, that hands are very much going to be involved. So, as ever, make a well, always make a well. Okay. Once again, doing this the least scientific method I possibly can work out how to. That's probably 80 millilitres. Why not? Let's find out what happens. If it gets too damp, then I'm gonna have to go full hog on the second portion and do that. So, mix it up, mix it up, mix it up. Okay. Oh. So the idea is, the recipe says a rough dough which is not sticky. So let's see if I can get to that. As ever, I'm thinking my best bet is going to be to use too little water in the first case, and then work my way up to that smooth, rough dough. Yeah, I don't know what recipe writers are thinking when they come up with these things, but there we go. Okay. You know, I've still got loose flour here. It's very sticky at the moment, but hopefully it's going to become less sticky as I work it, because at the moment it is just all over my hands. That's not too helpful. That's good. I'm doing this one-handed. Hopefully I can get away with not messing up both hands too much. Okay. Still a bit sticky. And I'm kind of out of dough to work with. So you know what? See, okay. I'm going to pretend that the amount that I used originally was a little bit under, and actually I'm allowed to get away with using a smidge more Huel, smidge more flour. As ever, the hope is that the need for oil has been replaced by the various oils that are already in the Huel. Need this a little bit more. See if I can dry it out, make it a little less sticky. No, it's just stuck to things. This was entirely unexpected. Nobody could have foreseen it just sticking to things because it's sticky. Okay. Get my hand covered in Huel. So I now know that for the next one, instead of trying to go for 80, I'm going to go a little bit less. Being I'm going to be doing 2 portions, if I hit like 100, well, a little under 150 millilitres of water should get me where I need to be. Okay. And if not, then I can just put a touch more water on it. Because once you get to that point, if you come at it from the other end, if you come at it from too dry, then all you need to do is dampen your hands, and that will do the job for you mostly. So, okay. I mean, this is a bit tacky. Oh, I've got some flour. Let's use that. Okay, let's try and work this into it. And yeah, as ever, recipes are always terrible telling you anything. They've always got words like sticky and tacky and smooth and rough, as if those words mean anything at all. And I don't trust that they do, you know. We've not got too much stick on this, so let's see what happens. Screw it. Scratch more. Want less stick. Want it just smooth. Because equally, it's very important that it be dry. The dryness is what will allow it to keep. Now the recipe for this, assuming that you do it the way they suggest that you do it, says that it will keep for 2 weeks, which is good. So, I mean, I had been looking for hardtack recipes, because hardtack is the actual stuff that you want for going on long journeys and that kind of thing. But the problem is, the only places that you're going to find hardtack recipes by the looks of it are survivalist websites. And if I can barely trust actual recipe websites to give me useful recipes, I'm not sure I want to trust a survivalist website to do it. You know, I'm willing to go for, you know, random food blogs, but, you know, survivalists, come on. Ah, okay. So yeah, this is not sticky in a useful way. It's not coming off in my hands or anything like that. So I'm willing to give it a shot. Now, I should at least give this a wipe down. Now, it does say that I should do this on parchment paper, but we've not got a lot of parchment paper in the house. Oddly enough, I opened up the box that said parchment paper and it was full of cling film. So I opened up the box that said cling film and there was some parchment paper in there. But once again, not a lot of parchment paper. So I'm going to see if I can get away with not using parchment paper and see what happens. So, a bit of flour on my work surface. As ever, I am not a chef, I am not a baker. Do not follow what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure you can't see what I'm doing anyway. This is for the best. One of the things that I'm doing is looking for a roller pin, which I'm sure I saw one the other day. There we go. Don't go on the floor. There we go. Let's hope this is clean. Give it a rub. Rub it out. Okay, smush it. And then roll. 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 Now this did say I want the thickness of a £1 coin. Fortunately, I don't carry cash on me, so it is hard for me to tell what that means. I'm pretty sure thinner than what I've just done, which means actually this isn't a lot at all. What I'm going to do is try and fold it. So ideally I want to get it quite square, so it's easier for me to work out portion sizes. Okay, that has now gone off the table. So fold it back up, bring that off. Okay, whoops. And whoops. Okay, I fold that in from the sides into sort of thirds type situation and see if I can get it squaring off. Hey, now it's starting to stick to the rolling pin. Right. There it is. Now I'm not sure if the folding is a good idea. I just want it to get quite square, so that's the best method I can come up with in my head for how to do that. I mean, if I couldn't get even pancakes, I don't know why I'm even attempting to try and get even crackers. But here we are with my attempt to do just that. Fold that in a bit. Oops. Get it back. Okay. I mean, I'm willing to believe that's a £1 coin thickness. Squeeze it out a little bit more. Right. So now, apparently, what I need to do is get this up in here first. Can I? Oh, that is not lifting well. Okay, let's do it on the other side. Right, so yes, what I need to do now is put it on a baking sheet, which I'm going to flour a little bit. See if that helps, because clearly it didn't help on the work surface. Once again, should definitely use parchment paper. Maybe like butter or something to grease it up. It's not what I'm going to do, but it's definitely what I should do. So, you know, that matters. Now, what I need to do, apparently, is cut it into squares. Do I have an appropriate tool? Ooh! Pizza cutter. Okay, this is definitely different thicknesses. Yoink. Yoink. And different widths and different everything. There's nothing uniform about this in the slightest. Yoink. Yoink. Oh, that's a lovely effect there. Yeah. Just sticking on like that. Okay, and again. Shouldn't have done it that way. Right, and now the other half of what I need to do is get a fork, take on the drying rack, much easier, and pierce, 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 pierce. This is why crackers always have holes in them, because they pierce them before they bake them, because otherwise they puff up and you get that kind of bread, you know, the one you get at Middle Eastern restaurants with all the balloon bread. Now, balloon bread is great. Actually, I should look up, maybe I can do balloon bread next time out of Huel, that'd be great. So I've left this on 200 degrees for the oven. Once again, I have no faith in this oven being able to actually be what it's meant to be, but let's see what happens. Okay, that is 1:04 PM. I am supposed to be in West London at 2:30, so I'm going to be late for that. But yeah, that means, I think it's at 12 minutes or until starting to brown. So let's leave it at that and see what happens. It occurs to me that the little light is on, but I'm hoping it's just turned on because there's no way that it hadn't already preheated. Once again, I say there's no way it hadn't already preheated. There's definitely a way it hadn't already preheated because it's a terrible oven. But let's see what happens. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop this recording for a moment. Wait, am I? No, I'm not. I'm going to make the other batch. I'm an idiot. Okay, let's do this. Smash. I said 16 past, didn't I? Okay. Right. Right. So, I did 125. I now have to do 250. 250. And the hope is that it will be very obvious if I've made any mistakes, and I will be able to correct them before I put the next batch into bake. That's a silly hope. 2, 3, 4. Come on. 6. So 250 should be very easy for me to measure. That is very close actually. Let's go for now. And then assume the rest is going to get made up by me flouring things. Okay. This is the earth. Right. Now the other thing that was important is that I did see that I had lots of room left in that baking sheet, baking tray, so that shouldn't be a problem for me. That's probably fine. If it works for pancakes, I'm going to assume it works for crackers. Now that's the reason I should have stopped, was so that I could look at the recipe again and check, do I actually need baking powder on it? The hope is yes, because that's what I'm doing. Right, shouldn't need that again. Won't. Spin it round, get it all mixed in there, get it all incorporated. let the ingredients get to know each other. Now I think I said I wanted a little under 150, so let's do a little under 150. Ooh. That is getting gooey. Okay. Get that. Now this looks like I've got plenty of flour, so hopefully this is soon going to be less horrible on my hands. Squeeze it through, squeeze it through. Oh, this is... This bit of baking never gets any better. I'm sure there's a better way to do it. Probably it is, you know, turn it into, whisk it into a batter first and then get going on it so it's not all over your hands. But as ever, I'm an idiot, so you know, stupid as a stupid does and all that. So as to how Lent is going, it's fine. I'm getting on with it. Let's see the concerns we have at the moment. So yeah, I think this was something I should have talked about last week. But anyway, I was on the train the other day, and I smelled some. I may have talked about it already. Luckily, nobody actually watches my videos all the way through. So anyway, I was on a train, and I smelt somebody eating something delicious somewhere near me. And I kept smelling, and I realised what that delicious thing was, and that delicious thing was a ham sandwich. I don't think it was a particularly mustardy ham sandwich or anything interesting like that. I think it was just a straightforward ham sandwich with some just, you know, straightforward cooked ham, maybe some butter. Now the fact that I could smell this from afar, that, you know, generally when people complain about people eating on the train, you know, they've got some chips going on, they've got a curry, they've got something that is going to have an aroma to it. I did not have that. What I had infiltrating my nostrils and my olfactory system was a ham sandwich. Ham sandwich. Ham is a weird thing, you know, it's boring. It is fundamentally boring. At best, it is just padding for something that you think needs some protein in it. At worst, it's just gooey and weird. So, the idea that it would be something that you are hankering for is kind of off. Now I say this being aware that it is true that I sometimes say that my favourite food is a ham sandwich. There's a very specific way to make that ham sandwich though, and that is you get some white bread, thin white bread if you can get away with it, very lightly toasted. You actually just want to have hot bread, not toast. Bunch of butter on it, like one slice of ham. What you're actually doing is trying to eat butter. That's what you're there for, is the butter. So yeah, but either way, it's not the kind of thing that should be setting me off in any way. And that's what's getting me to the problem of, you know, obviously when I finish all of this, come Easter Sunday, I'm thinking I want to do some sort of feast. I don't know what kind of feast it'll be as yet. I'm thinking I'm actually going to do a series of feasts over that week. You know, to get some flavour back in my life. But the worry is that day is going to come and I'm just not going to be able to do it. I'm just not going to be able to enjoy it because yeah, my tongue will be too sensitized. Everything will be just far too rich for me, which seems like a problem. You'll be glad to know that the preheat light has now turned off, so hopefully it was just in between cycles and I haven't been trying to cook it cold. There we go. Okay, this is feeling dry, deliciously dry. It's probably a little bit rough now actually. But it did say rough at one point, so what can I do? And we've still got 3 minutes, so let's try this thing again. There's still a bit of this stuff on there, so let's see what happens. Ooh, that is stretching out far more. It's almost as if I have a lot more dough going on. As I'm going to a party later, I'm probably going to have the trousers covered in flour. But there we go. Oh yeah, no, that's now too sticky. Okay, it's borderline shabby at the moment. Let's see what's going on in here. That might be done. No way to know. I mean, it's smelling kind of crackery. The real question is, where the hell's the oven mitt? That'll do. I'll give that another 3 minutes. So I'm going to go for the full 15 minutes. I don't know if 15 minutes was an option, but I'm going to claim it was. So. Okay. Bring this side in a little. Oh yeah, this is too cracky. So I need more water next time. I need to trust my hands. I need to trust that if I feel like it's too rough and needs a bit of smoothness, just damp my hands a little bit, you know. Dampy, 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 a little bit of dampness. Never hurt anybody. Apart from those weird people who are allergic to water. That's a hair. Let's get rid of that. So yeah, this is something that I'm going to have to get my hand in on, work out the best way to do it throughout the week, so that I can then make a week's worth next weekend. There we go. Okay, that is looking, I'm hoping pound coin width, because as ever, people who make recipe books do not give useful instructions. So let's see that. 20 past, that's got to be ready. It's not burnt, so that's good. Oh. What it is some boring looking. It's still a bit biscuity for me, for my liking, but maybe that's what I need, is biscuity. How have I got? Oh, that'll do. So this one's still a bit soft. Maybe they all will be a bit soft initially. Now, is it a silly idea to pick these out with my hands? I mean, yes. Yes, it is. I will almost certainly burn myself at some point doing this, but you can always hope for the best. It's not like I've got a fork right there that I could use to lift them up. Oh, just crack. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm feeling any actual crack from these. They're definitely dry, they're definitely solid, so that's good. And we still got some dry dust all over the place on here, so give that a shake and hope that works. Now, can I get this to lift without just sticking to everything? I mean, there's a bit of stick, I'm not gonna lie. That end has just entirely stuck, but unless I do this, pull it up from the other side, and save the day. There we go. Oh, I need to, okay, let's do that. That also fits on the sheet. Right, and that bit where it's already cracked, I'm going to pretend that's where I wanted it to cut. This is also a thing I'm going to have to do for next week, is work out a uniform size, so that when I go out to Colombia, I'm going to know how much here's a day's worth. I mean, that or I just portion them off like a normal person. Who knows? Here we go. Okay. Stab. Don't stick in there. Stab, 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 stab. Now, ideally, what I'd want to be doing is using some sort of just single point skewer and making some delightful pattern in them so it looks all professional and stuff. And maybe I'll learn how to do that at some point. But for the moment, this is what I'm doing. So, this goes back out. That goes back in. That says 24 past. Last time we did at least 15 minutes. So let's leave that until 20 to 2. I'm definitely going to be late for this party. It's alright, the party was meant to be carrying on quite late anyway. So, there we go. Now I should be able to just eat this, because once again, it is just Huel. And very little difference between it and what I normally am drinking or putting into pancakes. So. But that's just now a mess on my fingers, so I'll wipe that off. Okay, so let's try one of these crackers before they are finished. I feel like there was something. Oh, that's what I forgot to talk about. Pooping. So consider this your warning that pooping talk is about to happen. It's not going to get all that graphic. I mean, it's going to get kind of. I mean, if you don't like pooping talk at all, then yeah, it's going to get very graphic. If you like some good pooping talk, you're going to be disappointed by the lack of detail in what I'm going to be saying. So the worry was that I was going to get all very bloaty and farty and everything, and I don't think that's happened. Okay, there's a bit of crack to it. This is quite a thin one as well. So it's like, but still a bit flexible. You wouldn't be happy if you'd been served these crackers. I mean, they might work well with cheese or something like that, you know. Give you something to work with. Okay, let's find a thick one. Yeah. Okay, here's a good thick one. And actually, I was saying it was soft, but actually I think that is just bubbles. Although, I mean, there's definitely I'm not sure you're going to be able to tell there, but there's definitely a colour temperature from the outside and the inside. So, yeah, there's definitely still some goo on the inside. So then I'm gonna need to make sure that I'm making them more uniformly thinner. Try and get rid of that goo. It's not a bad way to go. In fact, it might even be quicker than doing the pancakes. And actually, okay, so before I talk about the poo, I had a problem the other day, bit of a moral dilemma, where I fried up my pancakes just using the pan that was out there on the assumption that, that's my face into it, on the assumption that the pan was going to be roughly clean. You know, it's probably, the last person to use it was probably me, and that. So all it had in it was dry dough. And then I ate it. I ate the pancakes, and there were patches of saltiness. So I think somebody was probably cooking something in there I hadn't realised. And so there's a possibility that I got a bit of flavour on one day this week. But I'm not going to do anything about it. You know, accidents do happen, so I can't be held to task too much on that. Right. So the pooping. Like, chip time. Good. So the pooping. So yeah, the worry had been that I was going to get very gassy, I was going to get very flatulent or something just because of the kind of ingredients that we've got in here. And actually, as I said last time, that's not particularly been happening. Now the pooping's been getting weird. So I think what's happening, potentially because of the way that I'm doing this, because some days I'll be doing the shake, some days I'll be doing the pancakes, that kind of thing, I'm ending up with kind of layers of very tough and very runny. And so I'll have a couple of days where I don't poop, then I have a really hard poop, and that then becomes a very liquid poop. My digestive system clearly has no idea what to do with this. But what I am noticing is that I'm not pooping a lot. Like, I would expect to be pooping more, potentially. It says to me that potentially, either I'm getting very constipated. Now, I've been very constipated before. I know what that feels like normally. So hopefully that's not what's happening, which suggests to me that what's actually happening is that my body is using a lot of this. Like, well, either that it's actually using a lot of this, or that I'm just weighing it all out, which is also a possibility. But that's the other side of it. Is one of the reasons that you need to make sure that you get lots of hydration is not so much so that you don't, die of dehydration, but to make sure that your bowels have enough liquid in them to move everything. This was always a problem back when my mum was ill, where because she was on a lot of opiates, she was prone to constipation. That is what will happen if you're on a lot of opiates. If you don't believe me, go watch Trainspotting. They explain it very nicely there. But in that case, what that means is that when you are on lots of opiates, and you start getting the constipation, you'll then be on a laxative regimen. But the thing about the laxative regimen, you have to do it with lots of water. And my mum, she always hates, because one of the things they have is Laxido, which is the most effective of them, or is the one that you want to be having. Everyone will tell you, oh no, but you want to use senna because senna's a plant and that's good for you. No, senna destroys your digestive system. Go nowhere near it. Get yourself a nice powder that is going to add bulk to your stool, because that's what you want. But the way those powders work, and the way your stool needs to work, is by getting your stool to absorb water. If you don't have water, your stool can't absorb the water, which makes it useless. And the same thing's going to happen even without that powder. You need to be getting lots of water into your system. So I think actually the problems I've been having have been more to do with not drinking enough. Having dry crackers is not going to help that situation at all. So I'm going to need to make sure that I'm drinking even more so than I am already. So we'll see how that goes. Look at that. I've still got 9 minutes. And it's going to take a while. Still these. Now I'm not going to try and eat them all in one go, because actually half the point here is to make sure that I can take them somewhere and eat them. It's always one of the problems when doing the pancakes is they look big and stupid and floppy. So it is weird to just get them out somewhere and start chowing down on them. Whereas something like this can be far more convenient. And remember, the point of this is not to cause myself discomfort or anything like that. It is just to remove flavour from my life. So I'm not trying to cause myself pain. I'm just trying to remove something nice from my life, which I would normally have. And this year round, that is flavour. There's still a lot of it though. Oh, that's the point, I forgot. I'm probably going to title this How to Make Lembas Bread. Should you have managed to get this far into it, already complaining, then yes, I am aware that this is not Lembas bread. This is at best cram. But Lembas bread needs to be tastier. And it's not particularly tasty. But it does have the nutrients that you need for the day. And I think traditional hardtack was effectively just flour and water. And people would go out for months and survive on pounds and pounds of that a day. So when people say to me that, oh my God, you must be, doing something extremely unhealthy for yourself, you must be destroying yourself, I'm not sure I believe them. Because actually, people have always been through far worse. As ever, the overriding lesson of my Lent is always, there's somebody out there whose life this just is. And actually, the way I'm doing it is far healthier. I will not end up dying of scurvy, in theory. Because I am getting 300% of my vitamin C in a day of eating this. Once again, the real danger is the mental toll. I'm not yet halfway through. It is difficult. But we'll see how it goes. Actually, on the mental toll side of things, it would be nice, now that I am living alone with my dad, because my brother is about now-ish going to the airport to go back to Nice. It would be nice to be cooking meals together, having meals together, and I can't do that at the moment. Now, luckily this isn't too much of a problem because of the week in Colombia that we're going to do. So we're going to have 1 week where we're not doing it, and then we're in a week in Colombia. I'm the one that's going for a week in Colombia. My dad and my brother, they're actually going out there for 2 weeks because they've got business to do out there. I do not have business to do there. I have a concert to get back to, hence the heels that I'm wearing. So, which actually, this is getting much easier to wear the heels. I've got a feeling I might be able to just go all night. We'll see how it goes. Remember, break in your heels. Do not try to go in with new heels. But yeah, so actually that means, I'm not sure if my dad's going to be back in time for Easter, but certainly not long after that, we'll be able to make food and eat and that kind of thing. Which would be nice, because the other day, last night, I came home and there's a frying pan with sausages and onions in it. And my dad said to my brother this was Cumberland sausages with onion gravy, but that's just sausages and onions. Which, granted, is a quick and easy meal to make, but I feel like it's not a real meal. Certainly not one that you should be having as an adult. Like, it's a perfectly decent student meal. And obviously I'm willing to call all sorts of things nutrition, but I feel like it would be nice if we was having proper meals. So I might have to start learning to cook again. Not that I ever learned how to cook before, but that's what I may have to start doing. Give it another 3 minutes. I should probably just have a look at it first. Well, nothing's feeling burny. So yeah, I'm thinking next time I'll just do bread. I am wondering if I can get away with, on one of these things, to... Actually, that's what I think I'm going to do. Okay. Next week I'm going to try and make bread. The week after that, being that I'm going to be alone in the house, I'll find time during the week to see if I can make pasta. Because I've got a feeling pasta should be doable. Doing dry pasta and just having a bowl of dry pasta. I think that shouldn't be impossible. Oh, actually, no, that's not what I'm going to do. No. So, the Tuesday maybe the Wednesday. I forget which way around it goes. Maybe, okay, probably the Wednesday I get back. I'm going to have my challenge day. Because every Lent I have to have at least one big challenge in there. Last year for not sitting, that was generally every time I got into a car was the big challenge. Not to drive. To drive I did sit down. But when I wasn't driving and I was going somewhere for an hour or something and I had to figure out a way to not sit, that was my challenge. Also, you know, going out in public with people, having nice meals with people whilst not sitting. The year before that, giving up hot water, my challenge day was having a bath while watching Iron Fist. We now know that the challenge was watching Iron Fist. Whee! Well done. And yeah, so it's always important to have something in there that stretches it to the limit. So I will do that a couple of days after I come back from Colombia. That's the plan. I'll let you work out what the challenge is going to be. See, this is still warm. But, see, this is... I mean, it's not quite damp inside. But yeah, I will need to make sure that I'm doing better with that. What does this remind me of? Can't quite remember. So, voila. My ex, she used to really love banana bread. She said it was morishly boring, but there was something about it that she wanted more because of how boring it was. And she got the same thing with Fritos. Fritos are among my favourite foods in the world. If you're in Britain and you don't know what they are, they're these barbecue flavoured corn chips that you get in the States and in Spain and pretty much everywhere apart from here. You can get Fritos. You can get Fritos. There's a little corner shop by Canary Wharf that sells them for like £4 a bag or something stupid like that. I have been known to buy them because they are delicious. But anyway, and then she thinks that they have the same sort of so boring that you want more quality to them. I don't agree. I think they're delicious and that's why I want more. Now these, I think they're so boring that I'm willing to keep eating them. Not that I want more of them, but there's nothing wrong with eating more of them. It's not that the chore is getting enough into you every day. So, oh, that's gone too far. You'll see what they look like. I'm going to leave them at that. And so I feel like this is what digestives probably feel like. What I'm going to do, I'm going to leave them here to cool on this still hot tray. So hopefully they'll keep baking. A little bit, get some of that damp out of them. Those ones still connected, those ones still connected, that is still very hot. So, we'll see how that goes. I'll bring you up to date on it next week. For now, I need to drink some water. I'm going to finish this, then drink some water. See you next week.